Live? Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? It looks like we may be live. And we are live, recording from Arlington, Vermont. This is Happy Valley Hobbies. I'm Mr. Katie, and these are hobbies that make me happy. Tonight, we are playing around with a new earpiece because apparently the microphone for the was on the headphones was a lot better than the actual professional mic, unless I was using it incorrectly. So it made more sense to actually get something along these lines because we're going and learning on how everything is. Well, people who have watched me before have sort of had me sort of kind of whine a little bit that I was unemployed. That is no longer the case. I am employed now. So now some of the things that I was planning on getting, I can actually turn around and actually look forward to and to get. Before it was more of, don't really want to buy it right now because, well, I still needed funds for rent and all that fun stuff. And so now that I no longer have that worry, now I can go forward and turn around and buy the stuff that I want. One, I was actually planning on doing planning on buying new, but there's an opportunity I have to buy a used one, and it's only been used for about a year, and the gentleman does seem to take a very good care of his equipment, so that's a possibility. Right now I'm trying to sort of my new work schedule is from 6 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. That's a 10-hour shift, but technically it's a 4-day week unless there's mandatory overtime, and right now there's mandatory overtime. So tomorrow I do have a thing tomorrow which is 6 to noon, so it's an extra 6 hours and go from there. But let's see, one of the other things I'm seeing about playing around with and is different cameras that I have, and this is what it is right now. For the fifth live stream that I have, testing a new microphone and lights. So yeah, right now my I want to say what I'm doing is not set up ideally, because what you're seeing now is the workbench, and the workbench is a little bit too far from the microphone cord is not long enough. But basically tonight I was going to show basically another set of locomotives that that I have bought. The ever so fun and popular General, made by Mantua / Tyco. As you see on the bottom here, I have one that's fully already working and all that. This one I bought, it was used, and obviously the person modified it a lot to making sure that it looked a lot better. And I also have one, this is I'm planning on having as a unit that basically for spare parts, and also to see about experimenting on, because I want to see about getting rid of the tender drive on both the two lower units. Uh, but so this is going to be the one I'm going to experiment on, and there's lots of parts missing, so it makes a pretty good setup for basically playing around with, and seeing on how to get basically an N-scale motor in between the drivers, and make it so it's usable. For some odd reason, the camera is shaky, but then again, it's not set. The setup is a little bit on a zip tied area, so it's obviously not tight enough. But another thing I want to see about doing is also adding a front couplers on, so it can be cut on both. And yeah, so that's what the plan is for that particular style of locomotive. That actually sort of rounds out what I have for the different styles of locomotives that I have. So I guess the next showcase of equipment that I have would be probably starting with the. I think I'll start with the passenger cars. I don't really have that many passenger cars, mainly because it's a very small layout, which you can just barely see right up here. That's sort of the front fascia of it. And yeah, one of the disadvantages of with my current workplace and all that is that it is very tiring. Going from something where not really doing that much, and now going to going to a 10-hour shift of pretty physical labor and all that. It's pretty much tiring. Very admittedly on that. But things are moving forward now that I'm in the process of doing things for the channel, and it's hopefully things that people signed up will wind up wanting to watch. That's one of the things of putting things on YouTube, is so theoretically people will watch it. But I do not know if let's see, let me just, okay, that is working, and so is the microphone. So people should theoretically be able to hear me. That's one of the things. Zoom is not necessarily set up as a video streaming service, but it's right now something that I know how to use, relatively easy, and I'm very comfortable with. Eventually, I will be seeing about getting a proper video streaming setup, but it is one of those things of it's usually a good idea to take one thing at a time, and trying to figure out how to get people to, I mean, I wouldn't say get to watch, but building a community that people like to watch, and keep pretty much everyone entertained. Um, so if anyone is have not seen anyone on the chat, so I can't really say, hey, welcome here. But yeah, it's, you know, with the new job and all that, it is a little exhausting. Basically, head home, take a power nap and all that, and then be ready for seeing people. And now that I'm sort of right now experimenting with the types of lights to get it a little bit more, I guess, three-dimensional. I mean, it's not necessarily a good thing that it's not necessarily a thing that I'm good at, because photography is not necessarily videos and photography in general is not a hobby of mine, so it's not as fantastic. Well, hello there, Anthony and Rail Artist. Thank you for coming along and putting something in the chat. I have a new mic, so is the mic working properly? I tested it out. It says it does, but you know, usually it's a good idea to have somebody else have somebody else's opinion on it. Okay. I'm assuming Anthony wound up typing a little bit too fast and hit the enter too soon. So, well, that's you wind up missing what I was talking about earlier, which is basically this is part of my collection. This is the general portion of the locomotives that I have. This obviously is a one that is sort of kind of factory. I wound up buying this one. The previous owner has modified it with much nicer stuff and all that. And this one over here, this is basically you know, for spare parts and also for experimenting on trying to like put an N scale motor in here so I can get rid of the tender drive, which is prevalent on these two. And the thing is that shake your fingers, hit the wrong keys. Yeah, that does happen. And you know, also depends. I mean, me, for some reason, I have to be looking at the keyboard in order to type fast. Why? I don't know. I never learned I never did learn on how to properly touch type. Every now and then, you know, I get inspirations of, and I can do it real quick, but that's not a constant in my setup. But also, just above where I got the locomotives and all that, you see right up here. That brown is actually the front fascia of my layout. It's still in the track is down. I'm in the process of wiring it, so once it's wired, and then I can get a proper set of paint and all that, and start. I'm also in the also, once everything is wired up, then I can actually turn around and also put in for the put in the ground throat. Well, unnecessary ground throws. I wound up I'm using basically a double pole, double throw switch attached to a bamboo skewer to turn around and actually actuate the switches. And it's the knobs are going to be sort of like recessed a little bit into the front there. So it's actually designed to sort of come. It's a 2-section layout that they come apart. You flip to one side up, and then you turn around and make a box out of it. Well, hello there, Container Man. Thank you for coming. Interesting. It still says it says three are watching. If there's 3 people in chat, and plus me, so that should say 4. Unless somebody snuck back out. But yeah, it's like as I'm starting to sound redundant. As I do apologize. I just started a new job on Tuesday. It's a 10-hour shift, so I'm a little tired. So that's why I'm sort of kind of repeating myself. But eventually, also, I am also planning on actually having recorded videos that theoretically is going to be a lot better than me just talking to the camera. My idea is to, well, hopefully get something very similar to This Old Tony. It's a machinist channel, and there's a lot of, somebody described it as a dad joke channel with a machining problem. And so I'm hoping that maybe I can do this as a dad joke channel with a model railroad problem. Or at least that's the theory anyway. But it when it takes practice and actually does it. And that is true. Pros do flub and all that, but they have better editors. Yeah, I guess there's a whole genre of YouTube's of weather people, or anchors and all that are like very straight and all that, and something wild happens and things go crazy, or unexpected, and that's how things are going to be. Yeah, actually, because of my job and all that, I basically went directly home, took a nap, and now I'm awake. But channel is Attempted Comedy and Attempted Trains. Well, I would have to say, Anthony, you do pretty good on both. Well, hello, Wigwag. So we're getting we're starting to get a crowd. Oh no. But yeah, slowly getting theoretically better at this YouTube thing, and I really appreciate the support. Still blaming Heath on it. Actually, speaking of Heath, I am planning on going to Amherst this Saturday. It's one of those things I could technically afford both Saturday and Sunday, but it's a 2-hour commute back and forth, and also going over a mountain range. So driving for 2 hours, going through all the buildings and all that, etc., meeting up with people, and and then having to drive another 2 hours back home and get back up and do it again, I probably will not be doing that. All right. Well, see you later, Container Man. But it's one of those things of now things I want to do with the channel. Um, since now I'm back being employed. Now I feel a little bit more confident in buying larger equipment that I was planning on actually buying. It's like, gee, I want to buy this, but you know, it's like, gee, do I buy that or rent? And now that's not a that now that's no longer a question. Uh, but I won't say it is because, well, got to do something to entice people to, what am I up to? And another thing is probably also watch it. I was, when I first started this, watching a lot of YouTube tricks and all that, and then I finally where is the Amherst show? The Amherst show is in Springfield, Massachusetts. Uh, uh, Interesting. Actually, no. I actually wound up getting a different job. Um, it's uh yeah, Heath. I wound up the job that I wound up interviewing for. I did not get, but I did get another job, um, which is in Manchester, Vermont. I live in Arlington, so it's only about 10 miles away. It's a very interesting place. Basically, it's a place that makes mattresses. And one of the funny things is that they don't have, you're not required to wear steel toe boots because, even though you can turn around and they can drop a 500-pound piece of foam on your foot and all that, you're not going to feel it. Go to the Zoom meeting. Shh. Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Hello, Possum Bayou. All right, now we're uh, getting a bunch of uh, bunch of people. Now, uh, hold on 1 second. Got 7 people now. All right, let's go this way. Here's the link. Well, hello, Matt J. Uh, Unfortunately, how do I go that direction? We're up to 8 people. So we're kind of confused for a while because I think the first it's the first 15 minutes, I think it was just me, myself, and I. Is like, I don't know, mentioning about food and all that. I haven't had supper yet, so talking about food right now, probably a little bit of a challenge. But I do have well, the thing is, this is tea, not Gatorade, but it is one of those things of I have a tendency to like to recycle stuff, so it's it's a nice bottle to be able to drink of and all that. So, but yeah, the new job is making different types of mattresses, and today I found out that apparently one of the customers is Alco, and I'm like, wait, what? Yes, it's the company's name is Alco Sleep Systems or something like that. But I doubt it's any relation to American Locomotive. I didn't really look into it that much and all that, but I know there's Alco Springs, which is which was originally part of American Locomotive. It's just that when they were American Locomotive was being dismantled, Alco Springs was one of the things that was able to peel off and still do its thing. And I forgot some of the other ones. I think I know the plans for the 251 engine. Think I think that either peeled off or it became part of Bombardier. I forgot which, but that wound up peeling off, and uh, now I think Fairbanks Morris, I think, has the plans for that, or or that, or hmm, alcohol and sleep. uh, but that's I would say that's one of the things I was sort of joking with my coworkers is that it's like I'm tired and exhausted and all that, but the thing is that they probably wouldn't want you actually sleeping on the product, Um, so I think if I remember correctly, it's I want to say Indiana. Uh, but they are they are a medical place. Uh, see if I find it. Okay, it's alcosales.com. Uh, and the thing is that we manufacture mattresses for them, but they also have um, I guess they started off with wheelchairs, I think. Let's see about us. I try to actually find it, use the about page on my computer, and it just, or on my phone while I was at work, and it just did not really work that well. All right, 1952 that they started. So they started before American Locomotive went out of business. They're in Burr Ridge, Illinois. They have over 70,000 products. What does Alco mean? Because obviously it's not American Locomotive. Well, I'm not really seeing that, but for those who want to, play at it, there's Alco Sales. But yeah, it looks like since they started in the 50s. It was 1970s when they renamed themselves Alco Sales and Service Company. Well, the guy who did it, his name was Alvin. So obviously he took his, I'm assuming people know him as Al. So Alco. So I guess that's the way to do it. Alco used to be a department store that went out of business in the Midwest. Okay. Yeah, it's one of those things of, people automatically assume that a name or something that's oh, this is a well-known product and all that. I mean, there's I used to, at IBM, which is International Business Machines. I used to work for a company called International Electronic Machines. So that was IEM. But the thing is that if I remember correctly, they don't own .com or .net. So I forgot the name of the website, but it's IEM and then some other letters and then .net, because another IEM company got the original or got the IEM.com website. I forgot exactly what International Electronic Machines. They actually dealt with gauges and inspection equipment for railroads. So we had an actual. The funny thing is that in the basement of the building, there was actually I want to say a 35-foot track in the basement, that we had different wheels and all that, where we could test the wheels and all that, because it was all about, unlike Sperry Rail Service does the same thing, but the opposite, if that makes any sense. IEM does the wheels, Sperry Rail Service does the rails. So it's the same, doing the same inspection, but for the different parts of the train. And that was sort of like an interesting little place. They are also some of the systems that they actually had. I joke around with some people, say, yeah, we build actually full-size scale trackside details, because, well, we have they had a detector that was set up with an infrared camera, and they would take all the measurements while the wheels were going by. Uh, and that was sort of interesting. Well, hello, Andrew. Thank you for coming. Um, yeah, I'm not quite sure if uh, the trackside details were. Um, I want to say what IEM, basically you had your basic box on the side and all that, and then you had the basically infrared security cameras that were sort of like pointed at the wheels, and they would take they would check for different uh, temperatures and all that. If it much I think they're normally put at the bottom, like bottom of a hill. So obviously they would turn around and take pictures of the wheels, how well the braking system are working, how well the bearings were holding up. Um, but it was sort of kind of interesting because there's times that you're watching everything in infrared. So one of the it was my job to remotely go in and making sure everything was working properly. And I know one that was set up next to had to be next to a farm. So every now and then you would turn around and see these, uh, since it's in black and white, they look like ghosts. So I'm assuming they were cows or something because they didn't really focus in too well. We There's also a highway version of it, um, which takes picture of when a truck comes in. They take a picture of the wheels, and they, from my understanding, compares all the wheels and figures out, if the if you have a wheel that's really hot, then oh gee, the brakes are that brake is stuck, or or if you got one that's cold, that means the brake isn't coming on at all. I remember one time uh, doing remote in. It was after a snowstorm, and turned around, and we're seeing nothing on the camera, and all of a sudden there's pieces. It's like sort of like all one gray, because there's no temperature difference, and all of a sudden there's chunks that are disappearing, and I'm like, what is this? And then all of a sudden I see a pair of pants and a shovel. I'm like, oh, they're cleaning. It's like, oh, they're cleaning out they're cleaning out the camera. So that was a fun thing. There was another one where this was before I started monitoring it, where they were having issue. They had this one issue with this one particular. It had all very odd readings. It's like something like 23 axles or something like that, and they're like, how can that be? And they wound up looking. There is a camera that's like above it, so they can take a picture of the truck that's coming in, take a picture of their license plate, match it up with all the images and all that, so they can tell the guy, hey, this is what's going on if there's something wrong. And they're looking at all the information on all the images on this, and they just made no sense because everything's all blurred, which is normally happens when somebody goes through it too fast. There's supposed to be a certain speed that you're supposed to go through this in order to get the proper pictures, and all the pictures are all blurry and all that. The ones that they did get, and then they turned around and they took they're trying to figure out what's wrong, so they look at the actual, full color camera image and all that. Found out it was a police chase. I'm like, yeah, that's why that didn't work, because they were going way too. I mean, we're talking a bunch of vehicles that are just flying right through, and the computer system did its best, but it just like, yeah, I can't do anything with this. But it is nice for everyone to coming up here. Yes, Springfield. My plan is to be there Saturday, uh, bright and early, because well, I am sort of used to getting up early at this point. Today was a day that I wasn't dragging. The first day was sort of like, it's like all the adrenaline, ready to go and all that fun stuff. Woke up the next day and it was like, yeah, you don't have any adrenaline today. But I think I am slowly getting adjusted to, working 10-hour shifts. I have worked at a place where I was working 10-hour shifts before. But the thing is the annoying thing is that, we're open to the public. So had to work on Saturdays and Sundays. So my 3-day weekend was Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Also, yes. That's right. That's I get yeah, the ACWRR. I'm trying to think what the ACW is. I'm blanking out on it, but it's a group that does civil. Well, it's sort of like pre and post Civil War. Since I'm aiming for 1870s, that's after the Civil War, which I, could have equipment that would be from the Civil War era. But I'm finding out that I don't know as much as I thought I did. I got a lot of useless details and information in my head and all that about trains and stuff like that. But then I'm finding out that I don't have as much as American Civil War. Duh. As I said earlier, with the new job and all that, I'm a little tired. But it seems to be an interesting cool group. I seem to know I know of some of the people on some of the Facebook groups that I've been following. One is John Ott, which seems to do a lot of nice pictures of sort of like, I'm not sure what they're called, but they're almost like portraits of locomotives of that time period. Yes, I completely agree with you, Heath. I think smart people realize that they have a lot of useless information. It's like nice trivia and all that, but usually sometimes it doesn't really come out to anything that's like useful. One of the things that I used to do, I used to make eyeglasses, and there's a lot of information that I probably have forgotten over the years that I used to do daily. one of the reasons why I have, regular normal straight line bifocals instead of progressives, mainly because, I do a lot of detail work, which requires a large reading area, whereas progressives usually have a very small area for reading. It's no line and stuff like that. Uh, yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a girlfriend to remind me of how stupid I am, but uh, that's I never. Uh, I want to say I never figured out the relationship thing. Uh, I did it actually as for work. I was a uh, oh wow, I'm definitely tired. Uh, oh, Living Juliet, that was medical logistics. 42 Echo. Um, 42 Echo in the Army is optical lab technician. So I learned on how to take a lens blank um, that had no prescription in it, put the appropriate curve in the back, figure out where to put the optical center, and if it needed all the stuff there. There are three John White books that are very helpful in the 1800s. Uh, Actually, I went to the local library to see about getting that, and they haven't told me about that. Yeah, it's yeah, you might have to just go with your readers and all that because as one thing that they don't tell you when you get progressives and all that, and I heard about this very early on when they had there, is that a lot of people had a lot of neck issues because since the reading area is small, you're reading like an owl because you know where if you're like with regular glasses and all that, your eyes are moving back and forth. But with progressives, you wind up your neck has to do the, do the following because once you go off the reading area, because the areas between here and here, they're not actually they don't focus on anything because that's where the curves are set there to make the bifocal disappear. And yeah, I was in the army uh, and was out before Desert Shield. So I'm considered it's a peacetime veteran. So I don't get any of I don't get, I wasn't given any benefits. A lot of times at the employment agencies, as soon as I mention it's like in the military, oh well, let's talk to you, let's talk to the veteran thing. It's like he's going to tell me no, and then it's like after going through the whole thing, oh no, you're uh, the things for veterans, you have to be during an active war. You have to, there's all these things that you have to, all these things you have to checklist before the military helps you out, and that I just don't hit a lot of the check marks. You know, yeah, the bifocals. I mean, the bifocals I actually have now are actually set up for the computer. So the reading area is actually uh, designed for this far away. Whereas my safety glasses that I have trifocals, that's set up where I can read up close, and then you got the intermediate, and then you have the distance. Yeah, that's same thing with me. It's like everything was sort of like great and all that, and then all of a sudden slowly things that got to the point where my prescription did not change for decades. Um, Usually my stigmatism would move around a bit, but it would still be the same power. Um, and the thing is that there is a setup for it's an encyclopedia set that has to it deals with the history of eyeglasses, the history of ophthalmology. And I would, it's one of those things I wanted a book and all that, but the thing is, they normally sold as a set. And I want to say back in the 90s when I was looking into it, the whole set was something like $20,000. And I'm like, I just want the one book. I mean, they go into, some of the books are, the first book is like the pre, the history of glasses up to the, right up to the 1800s. And then once it gets past the 1800s, then it splits out to France, Germany, England, and the developments on that. Corrective lenses are not protective lenses. That is correct. They are two separate things. With a corrective lens is something that corrects your vision. Something that's a protective lens is something that protects your eyes. Now, you can have a protective corrective lens. That's what safety glasses are. They're usually designed to be a little bit thicker, and plus they usually have guards on the side. But yeah, there's a lot of there's a catalog about this thick of different types of lenses. Not only the progressives, there's some that are really odd out there. There's a golf lens that's designed, the reading area is like on the corners here, so you can do your you can do the golfing and all that, but then you can turn around and look on the side, like this and all that, and you can turn around and read the scorecard. But they have it so the reading area is not within, not going to interfere with your swing. And there's some really odd ones that are out there. Then you also got ones, people who have very bad. There is a thing where the power of 3 is considered strong in either plus or minus direction. And the highest one that I saw was a plus 25. The thing looked like the lens blank looked like a flying saucer, because you had your normal carrier, which is a -6 front curve, but then they had to add the other curve on the front end to get it up to the plus 25. I mean, it was interesting. There was one that was very, I'm not sure how they figured it out, but it was for an infant, and they needed a -14. -14 is it's concave on both sides. And the thing is about it was like a 80 millimeter hockey puck, and we had to put it into these tiny top frames, which were about that big. They kept on giving us, this big, huge 80 millimeter lens blank. It's like, can we get a smaller lens blank? It took us almost 2 hours to get it in the machine to actually finally get it to a point where we could actually fit it into the frames. My assumption that they had no issue with it. It never came back. So either they never picked it up, or they were happy with it. It's one of those things that once it's like, okay, it's done, you hand it off to the salesperson, and you don't know you don't know what happens afterwards. Possum Bayou was in the Army, then the Coast Guard. Yeah, the interesting thing is that where I learned on how to make eyeglasses, it was, as they put it, it was the largest free world optical manufacturing plant. And of course, once they said that, I'm like, what is the largest plant? Not is not a free was set up. So that suggests that at the time I would assume that Russia or China had a larger plant than the United States. It was at Fitzsimmons Army Medical Center. It was approximately the medical center itself was approximately a mile square. The building that it was in, oh, I can't think of the size at this point. But what they were doing was they were making every minute they were making 3 pairs of glasses. And this was back when they were still doing glass. This was not polycarbonate. And no, it was Fitzsimmons Army Medical Center was out in Aurora, Colorado. I remember the first time we were doing physical training there. It's like, all right, here we're on a jog and all that. It's like you could tell it was basically you could tell who just got there because they were dropping like flies because there was like oxygen. We weren't accumulated to it yet. But yeah, they did have a small plastic lab, which actually the plastic lab I think was about the size of my apartment at the time. This was before they moved to they've moved down to San Antonio, which has they had most of the medical stuff there. So it made sense of, all right, well, put all the medical stuff all in one place. And I would assume instead of moving all the equipment, they just bought all new stuff, which was all polycarbonate. And well, at least that's my assumption anyway. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's a very interesting history. I know one thing is oh, I forgot what year it was. I want to say, I could be completely wrong on this because it's been a while since I thought of this, but I think it was 1890 that the first contact lenses were made. Usually you don't think of contact lenses, in the 1800s, but they did have them. And scaringly enough, they were made of glass. So can you imagine very, very paper thin glass that you put on your eyeball? They did work, but one, they were very expensive because of the manufacturing technology at the time. All right, Andrew. Well, Ashley, thank you for coming. Actually, this is probably a good time to actually peel off because I know that there's another, I forgot which one it is. It might be the Thursday 3-rail group. And so that's who I'm not quite sure who's going to be doing it now, but that's what my plan is that I guess Jerry, I can't think of his last name, He comes on at 6. My idea was to come on at 7 and then have the three rail group show up on it at 8. So it is 8 now. So I'll end this stream now. And I know the world ends. The world needs more love. Find your passion, add some silliness to it, and share it with everybody. And good night.